So you guys have all been covering this for quite some time, since last week. I will start with kind of the developments this afternoon, and then obviously you'll probably have some questions, and if we need to go work backwards, we can do that. So this afternoon, about 2 o'clock, some officers or detectives from our investigative element that has been searching for the suspect in this case for the last week, those detectives were contacted by family of that suspect. They advised those detectives that they were at the residence here on Brookside and Independence, and they were completing some ongoing rehab and kind of reconstruction of the home, and basically some recovery from the fire and the associated damage. And during the course of that recovery, they did locate what they believed at the time to be a human body inside the house that was deceased. Those detectives responded here to the house. They contacted our homicide unit as well, who have been working follow-up on the case from the homicide perspective. They all responded here to this house, and the location where they did locate this deceased person in the basement, they responded down in there and did confirm this is a deceased person. So the question that everybody's obviously asking, the deceased person is wearing clothing that is consistent with the clothing that the shooter was wearing last week on Tuesday night when those crimes took place in our city. Homicide investigators are working under the assumption right now, the preliminary investigative assumption, that this is the suspect that was wanted in those cases, and that was quickly tracked to this house that initial night. Right now, our homicide unit and those investigators are working with the Jackson County Medical Examiner's Office, who will be here or will be here very shortly, and they will begin a death investigation where they will work to confirm identity of the deceased person inside the residence, and also the cause and manner of death as well. They will confirm all of those things. Couple things, you guys will have a lot of questions. A couple things to note that I want to make sure. The basement in question in this was initially, at the end of the fire, it was flooded with water. There were several feet of water inside the basement that night and into the next day. And when we completed crime scene processing that next day, there still remained some water in that basement. It is one of the most congested basements I've seen in my 23 plus year police career, between water damage, just items down there, furniture, other construction items, plus some of the area had collapsed. The stairway down into the basement is basically partially there. It requires a person to sort of jump. They can go about halfway down and then sort of jump the rest of the way down. It's an extremely cluttered basement. The family that found this deceased person today had been back to the house several times between us releasing that scene and today. They'd been back there completing, obviously, recovery, trying to get whatever items they could out of there to salvage and try to straighten up or anything as best as they could. They'd been in there several times during the course of the last couple of days. So right now, where we stand from the investigative standpoint, the medical examiners will do their collection of evidence. They will work with our investigators to get everything that they have up to this point, and they will complete their investigation. That death investigation will be completed by our department. We are here in Independence, but that'll be completed by our department at their request as a continuation of the investigative follow-up that we've been doing over the last week. Probably, I'll just, whatever questions you guys have at this point.
Is this his family?
Yeah,
this house?
correct. Okay. Yes, family of that shooting suspect from last week that's been identified in all of the bulletins and the wanted and all of those things. Yes.
So we've seen police officers and we've seen canine dogs comb this property several times over the last several days. It strikes me as highly unusual that they would not be able to locate this body despite the conditions and the flooding. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, there's a lot of resources that have been out here. They have been around this property. They've been above this property. They've been inside the house several times. We have many of our federal partners have been here using those resources: fire department, fire marshal, equipment, dogs, cadaver dogs, search and rescue dogs. I'm probably leaving some things out, but it's everything you can think of has been here. That's correct. To include the deceased family members have been in that house completing rehab and recovery. Your word unusual is not, sorry, my radio. The word unusual is not misapplied in this situation. I agree with you.
Did law enforcement go back in the house between Tuesday and today, even after the water went down, and do a thorough search? Or did
Yes,
fire,
there had been additional officers or additional detectives inside that residence, and again, our crime scene investigators completed a documentation and processing of the scene late last week, Wednesday into Thursday. So yes, the answer to that question is yes.
Does it appear that its death was from the fire or something else?
A little early to say that. Presumably yes, but it's hard to say. You know, there was several feet of water in that basement.
Had he been seen from now, when you first went in this home, and other times you've been in this home? Have you been seen any time between then?
Like in the house, you mean, in the
Even
location?
in public?
No.
So
No.
it's presumed he's been here since.
Correct. Yeah. This person has been deceased in this house for some time.
How did the fire start?
That's still under investigation by the fire marshals, but it started when he was seen in the residence, according to Independence Police Department, that night. So Tuesday night into, it would have been Wednesday morning, early Wednesday morning. The presumptive investigation would be that it was started by him inside the residence.
During that standoff, was there any flashbangs, any fire that was fired from officers inside the house that may have started the fire?
Officers don't shoot fire. Like, you mean, like, I don't understand the question, I guess.
Just was there any indication that the fire may have been started from police at any point?
I'll leave that to any fire investigator to do that. And again, at that time, that was the Independence Police Department that was conducting that tactical operation. So I wouldn't be able to comment on what munitions they used as far as any of those type of things. Yeah, that I wouldn't be able to say for sure on that
Especially with
in
the
either way.
high-profile nature of this search, who's checking the home? The thoroughness of that check. I mean, there's multiple agencies involved in this. So
Absolutely.
how does it get missed?
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's the question everybody has, obviously. This basement is partially collapsed. The stairway is collapsed. There are several sections of it that there is a lot of debris piled up. There have been a lot of resources that were used, both from a search and rescue standpoint, a search standpoint, equipment from a fire department standpoint. Again, a couple of different canines had been used. It is the basement itself was inaccessible for a period of time, and so additional resources would have to be used in that case, as far as fire implements to check, and canines and other types of things. One of the things that we knew back on Wednesday, whenever when we sent the bulletin out, we let everybody know that we wanted the public to be on the lookout. At that point in time, we were confident that all of the survivable places in this house had been searched, and he was not located. And that's some of that is what led us to kind of pivot to notifying the public, asking the public's help. This operation, this search, could have continued for a long period of time. Obviously, it did, more than a week.
what do you tell the people that you've had a press conference, you've had all of this attention on this? People have been worried about this person on the loose.
Yeah,
What's your message to them?
we've been worried about it too. Absolutely, we want to ensure the public safety. We appreciate everybody that kept an eye out. All the people that called in tips that thought maybe this could be this person. We really appreciate that, and it's not unnoticed. There's a saying, better safe than sorry. We would much rather have the public keeping awareness and keeping an eye out for this subject from the very beginning, and have it be for naught, like in this case, than to be unsure if the person is in there and continuing to not let the public know. So.
Was the body under debris?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Like I
how
said,
much debris?
piles. It was piles of things. And the night of the initial standoff, the Independence officers reported seeing him in there barricading himself behind several objects down in that basement. And it was, as I said, there's if you can picture a basement and you can stand up in a basement, there's enough debris in there that you can't stand up. It's more of a crouching situation.
Is there then a better description of where he might have been found in the basement? Was he buried beneath all of the clutter?
Absolutely, yes.
So
Yeah, if you walked in there, you wouldn't be able to see him. It took a significant amount, and it wasn't until family was removing the debris and the damage. If you've ever been inside of a house after a fire, there's just there's collapsed pieces, there's things that have been wet, there's old furniture, there's all of those things. Family was working through all of that and removing all of that when they detected a distinct odor, and that led them to search further into that debris. Yes.
So is this a learning lesson at all about the incapabilities of, say, canines or search teams when there is, say, standing water? Or what are you taking away from this moment and this clarity that's now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very unique situation. There's no method is 100% foolproof, I think. Canines are a tool, x-rays are a tool, people's eyes are a tool. All of those things were used from different agencies, and ultimately it came to being the case that today a member of his family was what located him in there.
Where did the fire start?
Sorry, that was both same time.
Where did the fire start?
Inside the residence is what we know. Yeah,
Would it have been in the basement?
I don't have the exact location of where that was, but the Independence officers that reported seeing smoke and fire reported that from inside the residence. They saw it coming from inside the residence. Yeah.
So the second standoff location really didn't make sense.
It absolutely made sense from an investigative standpoint, but as I indicated there, that story was covered several different ways by several different outlets, both locally and nationally. There was never a contact with him there. That situation unfolded because it was believed that there could be evidence there, and where there's evidence, there could also be a suspect. Because of the nature of it, they proactively de-escalated and took a tactical operation into that situation before going through and looking for that. There was a simple precautionary measure. Could he have been there? Yes. There never was any contact, and there never was any indication afterwards that he was there.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Do you know about how many tips that you all have received?
I don't have the exact number. We did receive several, and I know that obviously the FBI was open for tips as well, and I don't have a number about how many they
Do
received.
you happen to know how many shots he fired? Do you just know that people would get,
Are you talking about like on the initial shootings? I don't. Yeah, that would be, the crime scene investigators would gather any of that available evidence. I don't have the exact number, but we do know the 5 different locations there where the people were hit.
And
Yeah.
going off because the shots were fired there, or more resources than Independence, or kind of why?
Yeah, those crimes occurred in our city, and he was quickly tracked to this location. It happened to be in another city. They took over the tactical operation in their city, but from an investigative standpoint, a lot of our homicide evidence is believed to be here, and then ultimately the believed suspect is here. And so at their request, we're just continuing on the investigation. That is at this point the death investigation that's located here. Yeah.
Have any weapons been recovered?
Not as of yet, but they processed the scene originally for weapons, and I don't have a number, but there were weapons recovered in the initial crime scene processing. If there's additional ones there, then obviously they'll be recovered alongside of that. Yeah, go ahead.
And going off this, since talking to family, is there any idea what a motive could be from the shootings?
Early on, it's hard to say. And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to speak to him to ask him. Early on, our investigators did, through talking with family, did determine that there was indication that there was some mental health crisis going on with this suspect, and it was believed to be that these crimes happened as a result of that. But that's really the extent of kind of what we know at this point. It's nothing we'll know for sure, but yeah.
So typically after a fire, fire crews do a search of the home, and there is a thorough. Did anybody, and I know we may have asked this, but did anybody thoroughly search that home?
Yes, this home was very thoroughly searched, and I know I completely understand it raises the question, how could this happen? This home was very thoroughly searched, and again I keep repeating back. I mean, the clutter in this basement was unlike anything I've seen before in my career. It was a normal basement that you can't stand up in, and we used resources, and the fire department used resources to go down in there in those areas that were inaccessible due to water at the time, and again all of the survivable areas those were checked initially, prior to issuing that bulletin to the public. So, the short answer, yes, it has been searched by multiple different agencies with different
There was some
tools.
police activity across the road earlier
Mm-hmm.
around the cemetery. Was that at all associated with this?
100%, absolutely, yeah. It was additional. So with working under the belief that if he did make it out of the house that initial night, there was a thought that there could be evidence, nearby in the surrounding area here that could lead to his whereabouts. So yeah, 100%. That search was organized in regard to continuing to search for him. Yes.
But there was additional activity outside the cemetery after the main search party had left. I'm talking around 3 o'clock this afternoon, when this road had already been closed off and it had appeared that most of the investigative resources were being poured over here. We did see ambulances and fire, one ambulance, one fire truck, several police units with their lights on, sirens, flying through these roads.
Inside the cemetery part,
Yes.
I don't know what that would be in regard to. I know the search ended prior to
Right.
family notifying our detectives that they had located a body inside this house. What that is in regard to, I'm not entirely sure.
Did you recover anything in that search?
No.
Will determining the cause of this fire be vital to determining what caused the suspect to be deceased?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all part of it. It's kind of one and the same. Yeah, the cause of the fire will be a piece of the investigation. When someone dies in a fire, or when someone dies in a house that has had a fire, then the start of the fire, how it spread, all of the things to do with the fire becomes part of that death investigation in that fire, 100%, yeah.
Did the department take anything away from this investigation, considering he's been in this home this entire time?
I think this is a very unique situation, and police and police investigators are trained to respond to what's in front of them at the time and where the investigation takes them. And I think that our detectives did that over the last several days. They have done that. They'll obviously learn from this to some extent. And every case you do learn something, and each one's different. Will we ever have a case exactly like this? I would say probably not. But investigators take what's in front of them.
How's
The
the
other
family
people
doing? How's the family doing?
I have not had any contact with them, but I know they've been in contact with detectives throughout the course of this. Obviously, a search for a subject is going to involve speaking with family members. They have been 100% cooperative. They've been 100% supportive. If there's anybody that wanted to find him as much as us, it was them.
The other people that were shot, they're still expected to be okay.
Correct. Yeah, there's been no
Original
change. Yeah, no change in their status. Everyone continues to recover either at home or in the hospital. Yeah.
Did family ever see his face, or did they just see part of the body on the road?
I don't know the answer to that. I didn't interview them specifically about that piece. I'm not for sure.
And was badly decomposed, or can you say?
There was a state of decomposition. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't be able to. I don't know what badly is versus not badly. It was a state of decomposition of a period of time. Yes.
We're just waiting on the coroner now to
100%, yeah.
positively ID.
That's right.
Okay.
Medical examiner will complete their investigation. They use whatever methods that they need, be it fingerprint, DNA, or whatever else, to complete a verified positive identification. But again, the important things are that the clothing matches and is consistent with what the suspect was wearing last week, and detectives are saying that this is consistent with being him. Yeah.
Is that happening right now with the medical examiner inside?
I don't know if they're here yet. They've been notified and requested to respond here.
I haven't seen any.
I don't see
coroner or
I do not
medical
see their
examiner.
vehicle, but and again, it's their response is separate from ours, so it's it can be some time. Other important thing too to note is that this investigation has been unique and it's taken several turns. The important thing to know is that this person is not going to cause any further injury to anybody in our community, and that's an important thing to take away from this situation. All the questions you guys have of us, of Independence Police, that's all fair, but the important thing is that those that I heard from people that did things different with kids' activities because of concern out of this. I heard from people that wondered if if their work schedules or work locations were going to change because of this. And that's unique. You know, that's hard for a city to process. That's hard for a city to come to grips with, let alone when we're on the national stage and we have visitors from all over the world here doing international activities. And so unique doesn't even begin to describe this situation with all of the elements that are into it. And one piece of it that we're glad to be able to report today is that the person that caused injury to those people last week is accounted for, and we can certainly say that person won't cause injury anymore.
Because of like the matter of it being, you know, during the World Cup, were there extra resources being poured into this investigation over the time, or?
I would say the investigative resources exist whether the World Cup was here or not. We got a lot of questions about extra security at World Cup events. And I answered, I'll tell you kind of how I answered that, and I'll kind of repeat it. There have never been as many police officers in Kansas City, Missouri as there are right now. We have officers from all over the Midwest that are here assisting with these World Cup events. And that's important to note, because if someone is wondering if their neighborhood is being policed differently or is less secure because of these World Cup events, it's absolutely not. There are officers from as far away as Oklahoma, Iowa, Illinois, even Ohio. Met one from Ohio the other day. Those officers are helping us secure these World Cup events, while our investigators, our detectives, our SWAT officers, our people are out policing in Kansas City and in Independence right now. You know, we're conducting an investigation in Independence. And so there's no World Cup specific resources here helping with this, but our detectives, I would tell you, are as good or better than anyone else around. They are highly trained, highly experienced for whatever an investigation throws at them, and they're able to continue to do that and focus on that because of the help of agencies from all over the place that are helping us. If you've been to FanFest or you go to a World Cup game, if you can't walk 10 feet without seeing a police officer, and you're probably going to see, if you walk 100 feet, you're probably going to see about 10 different agencies represented. And so in that regard, there's a lot of police presence here. Those events are as secure as they possibly can be, and they have been planned, they have been secured, and that's continued throughout the course of this. Whether this person was in this house the whole time, which we now know, or whether this person was out lying in wait, waiting to do more harm to somebody, this community had safety and security in as much as it possibly could.
So to summarize, last Tuesday there was a series of shootings that took place. You all were investigating kind of like one after the other, and then it all kind of led you back to here after an incident the week before. If you could just summarize, just like quick summary of what led you to here and then Tuesday.
Yeah, so detectives had some investigative information early on that led them to identification of a vehicle, and that vehicle led them to this residence. And then the registered owner of that vehicle obviously led them to the identification of a potential subject of interest at that time. Later went on to be an identified subject of interest that we learned had a warrant out of Kansas at that time. They were a wanted subject of interest in regard to our case, but they had an active warrant from previously out of Wyandotte County, Kansas. So that is what led to the operation and the standoff here at this house, because that person was believed to have been seen inside the house. And that tactical operation continued. Obviously, it was passed off to Independence at that time, because that is their city to conduct that operation. So that all took place in the span of about an hour to an hour and a half from the initial shootings to being at this house. Our officers that were initially responding to those shootings were gathering available information quickly. And they were here quick. It was less than an hour that night.
And then you were just saying, like, you believe the fire started
from inside the residence. Yeah. That was reported to us from the SWAT officers in Independence, who were actively engaged in the tactical operation. They reported fire from inside the house.
And that vehicle, is it still here or is it gone?
I believe it's gone. Yeah, it was towed. Yeah.
And they believe he started the fire?
That's the working assumption, yes, because it's not believed there was anybody else in the house, yeah. Those are our crime scene vans that are pulling up right now, so they will be assisting medical examiners in the additional processing and recovery efforts there.
As a spokesperson, representing this department, how are you doing right now?
It's a good question. So this case has obviously been one that's at the forefront of concern for a lot of people in our community. To provide some element of relief to that concern, while I'm not providing that relief, I'm telling you guys about it. It's our investigators that have been out here in the hot sun and out here in this field and knocking on doors and going in other cities and talking to people and calling on phones and all of those things. I think the word relief comes to mind. That's the biggest. We have things we're going to learn from. We have things that we'll iron out with our partners in Independence. We're going to have conversations after this as well. But the important thing for people to know is if you changed anything throughout the course of your day-to-day life over the last week because of concern from this, you don't have to anymore. And there's definitely a sense of relief from that.
Sarge, after the initial standoff here last week, which agencies swept the house?
There were several. It was Kansas City Police, Independence Police. There were federal agents as well. Fire Department, KCFD, Independence Fire Department, Missouri State Fire Marshals. In addition to, I mentioned before you got here, there was canines, there were cadaver dogs, there were recovery dogs, many canine assets, there were drones. Every resource you can think of that these agencies had was employed in this situation. Yeah.
Before today, when was the last time an authority figure, a law enforcement, had been in the house?
Let's see. Today is, I don't know the exact answer to that. I'm sorry to tell you. It would have been, we were out here, we've been out and around the house several times over the last week, conducting additional searches for any potential evidence, any indication of anything might have been left behind or where he might be. But I don't have a good answer for. I'd have to check on that.
So no one reported an odor until family today?
Correct. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Certainly, if someone had called and reported an odor, that would generate a response, and that would be in any situation anywhere in the city. Yeah.
Was today the family's first day in the house?
No, definitely not. If I didn't make that clear, they had been, over the last several days, the family had been coming, working on the recovery effort here, trying to kind of go through the rubble and the damage, the water damage, the fire damage, the collapse damage. They've been in there several times. They've been down in the basement several times. So they've been, if you picture going to your relative's house, you kind of know the layout there. And so these are family members that lived here or have been here. And they've been right next to this situation for several times and several.
So because of all the damage, they were not able to.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys.